It's time to rock and roll!
I got some hot takes to spill. Sometimes you read stuff online and then like you make up a guy in your head to get mad at. It's like, oh, I bet someone else thinks this opposite opinion of me. And then no, like sometimes you do find someone who's like tweeting some just frustrating stuff, and I'm seeing all this like Scream sequel chatter, and I'm just like, no, we're not doing this. We're not disrespecting the Wes Craven entries to hype up the new entry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It could be the best movie of the year. You don't have to disrespect the man who gave us all those great sequels. And frankly, Scream 4, which, is so ahead of its time, the stuff in that movie is still applicable to stuff today. And maybe that's part of the problem with Scream 5. I don't know. Don't need to stir those feelings up. But I'm your host, Diego Crespo, and I'm venting because I love Scream as a franchise. And I'm going to talk about another franchise I love today, which is the Rocky/Creed franchise. And to do that with me today is my co-host, Gina Versa.
Hey, how you doing? Morning.
Yeah, good morning. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for swooping me up to that IMAX event for Creed 3. We saw it a little early. I believe we also saw the first Creed together a little early, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we saw an early screener of it.
Yeah.
A week before. It's funny.
Yeah. And then Creed 2 we saw separately, but I feel like that one's kind of come and gone. Not a bad movie. Movie. Just, it's not Creed. We'll find out if it's as good as Creed 3 or if Creed 3 can live up to the other entries today with our co-guest host. Guest host?
Yeah.
Guest host. Gee, I don't know what's wrong. I did not have a long night last night. This is completely on me. Gene, you want to introduce our guest?
Yeah, I got my good friend and former roommate, Daniel. How you doing, Daniel?
Doing well. Thanks, Gene. Thanks, Diego. Thanks for having me. How you guys doing?
Oh, good. Just word soup today, I guess. I don't know. But doing great. Welcome back from the Northman podcast, which I could not make last year. But it's a fun episode. Everyone should check it out because that's also a great movie.
Absolutely.
Gene and I were talking right before recording, like how last year was so good. Like, we'll talk about stuff we've seen recently, but I finally saw Tar, and I was like, I really loved it, and I was like, maybe that should go in my top 10. And then I was looking back, and I was kind of watching Everything Everywhere All at Once again, and I was like, oh, I feel bad. That one wasn't even in my top 10. That one's got to move up again too. And then I saw my top 10, and I was like, I don't know what to take out. And there's just so many good movies last year, so it's a wealth of riches. Daniel, how are you? What's new? Tell us about what you've been watching lately and anything else you want to tell us about yourself.
Yeah, well, I just started school, guys. I'm studying to become a social worker, mental health care. So that's been a lot more of my time recently. As I to the Bay Area to do that. I'm from the Bay Area, San Francisco. I'm very lucky to come from a great city and to be back in a great city. I haven't been able to watch much, but as we talk about, I do have a hobby enjoyment for sports movies and kind of sports narratives. And so recently I did watch two really great documentaries by two, I want to say kind of greatest generation era. I want to say, pre-baby boomer goats, so to speak, and Bill Russell and Willie Mays both have documentaries about them out right now that I really recommend. They touch on just the remarkable lives they had to live while being great athletes in America in a way that great athletes after them didn't really have to live in such a, we live in a very violent and conflicted country now, but specifically so when Bill Russell and Willie Mays both donned televisions and kids wore their jerseys and cheered their names. But it's a very, very cool portrait of both athletes out right now. Also going to be dealing with the word soup today, but yes.
No, that's all good. That's all good.
Where can people watch those if they're curious?
Yeah, Say Hey Willie Mays is on HBO Max, I believe, and then the Bill Russell Legend is two-parter on Netflix.
All right, thank you.
Nice. Okay, be sure to check it out.
Yeah, Gene, what about you? What have you been watching lately?
I've been watching like a lot of movies, I guess, through the A list. Gotta rep that because it's just saves a lot of money. Not paying for those extra seats, those extra prices for those seats, like AMC keeps telling me. But yeah, I saw The Whale recently. I know that one's been kind of like getting some criticism here and there, which good to talk about. But I was like really enjoying that actually. I mean, it's very moving. It's very like sad, but like the story, like Fraser, it's Brendan Fraser himself like plays the role with a lot of empathy and everything. So it's just like it's really yeah. In terms of just like the performances, I could just attest they're pretty good. Cocaine Bear, I saw. I enjoyed. I don't know if people are like, I don't know. It's been getting a lot of like mixed response. Where yeah, I think Diego had some takes on that. I don't know if he wants to say.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's like because I haven't seen it. And
Yeah.
I like Elizabeth Banks is such a talented actress and artist.
Hmm.
I've not loved everything she's directed.
Okay.
She's very talented in other ways. I feel maybe Cocaine Bear is the one I see where I'm like, oh, it's all clicking for me or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But from my understanding, a lot of the criticisms about it are that, she mentioned she was inspired by Sam Raimi, one of our
Mm.
goats. One of like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna be
But yeah,
inspired by anyone,
she's in Spider-Man.
she's inspired. Yeah, she's in
Yeah.
Spider-Man. She's in 3 of his movies. I feel that a lot of the criticism stemming from like the lack of like tonal connectivity.
Mm.
Like some people are a little disappointed that all the bear scenes are just the ones from the
CGI.
trailers.
Yeah.
Apparently, um,
Yeah.
I've not
Not a
seen
real
any
bear.
CGI complaints, frankly. And for me, the layman who's only seen the trailers,
Hmm.
um, like I think the bear looks pretty good. They did not have a lot of money to shoot that movie. Like I
Yeah.
think it looks good. Like
Yeah.
an animatronic would cost so much more. Like it's
It
just
would.
not like you're not getting those running shots and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
but I'm glad it seems to be successful. At least I don't know. It's
Hmm.
maybe a little too early to tell, but like I want movies
Yeah.
like that. So like success for Cocaine
Same.
Bear is success for everyone.
Yeah.
It's like Bullet
Definitely.
Train for me last
Um.
year. I don't not
Oh, we
crazy
saw
about
that
that.
together. We saw that. Me and
Wow,
Daniel saw that.
we did. I remember that. I haven't seen Cocaine Bear. I do want to see it. I'm curious. Does it hold up to the Bears' performance in The Revenant? Like, what's the ranking? I really am
Mm,
curious. 'Cause I love that performance from the Bear in The Revenant. To be honest with you.
I I think the Cocaine Bear has like a little more like nuance to him. The Cocaine Bear is also like a parent of cubs, so it's got that going.
Oh,
I want to
okay,
spoil
that's
that.
new.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So.
it is just fun to talk about Cocaine Bear because it's like, what's it about? Like you just say the title, it's like, oh, you see the movie, like,
Hmm.
it's like the perfect like B movie pitch.
Yeah.
But the
Exactly.
bears, the cub bears and stuff like that. I didn't know that because like,
Hmm.
the joke is like, oh, it's based on a true story. It's like it is, but also like the
Yeah.
true
Not
story is
really.
just sad. It's interesting because it's like, and Elizabeth Banks talks about this on like interviews I've heard her give, like
Hmm.
where it's just the fallout of like the bullshit of the American drug war in the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's like there's no better real life example about like look at what like how this useless like conflict that's just made to make certain people money. And then it's like, oh, it killed the bear. It's like there's the image right there. It's like the fallout of all this is just like killing like the natural world.
Hmm.
It's like that's the story. So she
Yeah.
like
Pretty.
gets it as like a person. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll like the movie a lot if she can like
Yeah. Could watch it.
all that.
Hmm.
Like
Something.
that framework. I do want to say though, it's another case of they're stretching out the based on a true story a little
Yeah.
bit hard for marketing. I mean,
Hmm.
at one point is something just an idea that inspired a movie. Like I don't know
Mhm.
if it's like if someone went to the grocery store and I don't know if I went to the grocery store and tripped and fell and met the love of my life. I wouldn't say it was based on a true story because I have a rom com about two people meeting at a
No,
grocery store.
Yeah. Yeah.
no,
I was.
you're totally right. I just gotta say too, because like it's the real story. The bear dies like immediately because it ate
Mm,
cocaine. Like
yep. It's
it's
terrible.
a
It's a
sad
hell of a
story.
drug. Hell of a
Yeah,
drug.
it's
Not
the
Hell
even
of a
end
drug.
result of like this fucking wild story of like this criminal empire collapsing in the 80s. But like yeah, the bear died like in 20 minutes. Like
Yeah.
you can't eat cocaine.
No,
Like,
no.
you
Yeah.
shouldn't eat most drugs, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Should
actually,
not.
don't do any drugs. What am I saying? But yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, it's just it's ridiculous. But yeah, we'll see about
Yeah.
what I think eventually.
Hmm. I just want to throw out one more because it was
Yeah.
like a great theatrical experience because they brought it back. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, in theaters. It's a good time. Yeah, that movie still holds up. Love it.
Yeah, Ang Lee.
Ang Lee, yeah, the
Yeah,
Hulk.
Ang Lee's Hulk still, I think, one of the truly great superhero movies. I stand by that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, his run in the 2000s is kind of like unparalleled. Because then what does he do
Yeah.
after Crouching Tiger? It fucking does the Hulk. What the fuck?
So, yeah.
Yeah, and like he's got like Lust and Caution that decade. It gets
Hmm.
to like Life of Pi,
Hmm.
which like won him all this acclaim. And then after that, he kind of like
Gemini Man.
some people. Well, he did Billy Lee's Long Halftime Walk, and
I haven't seen it.
some people just think like he kind of fell off, and like I don't think that movie super works, Billy Lee, but I like it. And
Mhm.
then Gemini Man, I have like a thesis on Gemini Man. We've talked about it a lot in the podcast. I don't need to go back to it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like Ang Lee. I'm glad people are like rediscovering Crouching Tiger. That's a great movie
Mhm.
for sure.
I'm with you. I love Ang Lee Up, Do Life of Pi. I think it'd be nice for him to not do a genre film for like just once. Like go do like a narrative, like a Brokeback Mountain, and just kind of charge and like, because I feel like he's got too much, maybe too much power and too much money, and I want him to be want to make something really small. I'd be really cool to see Ang Lee go back and make something really small before he goes back to trying to do these really big conceptual kind of genre blockbuster movies.
Yeah, I think I'd like that too. And like Billy
Mhm.
Lee, you can see him trying to do a little bit of that, but yeah, full-fledged like drama again, I think would be really fantastic,
Like something like the Ice Storm, or what's that one he did? The Ice Storm, right?
Ice Storm, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, which I finally saw. That's also a fantastic movie.
Hmm.
Yeah, because like Brokeback Mountain and Lust and Caution, I think, are back to back also, and it's like if you had those two movies in your resume alone, you're kind of like an all timer.
Yeah.
I feel like he has not gotten his credit.
No.
But yeah, whatever. The Ang Lee hype for another time. We'll have to do an
There we
Ang
go.
Lee episode
Ang
or
Lee
something like
podcast.
that.
We'll do
Ang
that.
Lee podcast, yeah. I will. I'll say, I finally watched Jurassic World Dominion with a group of our Gene and I's mutual pals. No, but I also saw Creed 3 and Near Dark, and then Creed
Good.
3 again this last week.
Good segue.
Yeah, Near Dark is still. It's the second time I've seen it on the big screen, 35 millimeter. The print was nice and scratchy and poppy, not in a way that's like disruptive, but it just felt like, to become like a vintage fetishist for a second. I was like, ooh, old movies,
Yeah. Nice aesthetic.
Yeah, not everything should look like that. I
Mhm.
firmly believe that, but I'm also like, ooh, cool, old.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's terrific. The crowd, it killed with the crowd. Pretty packed house, which was nice. And before we get to Creed 3, we should also talk a little bit about our history with the Rocky franchise.
Yeah.
But Daniel, let's go to you first. What's
Mhm.
your history with the Rocky franchise?
Well, kind of like my history with Shawshank Redemption, or my history with 90. It's a cable TV franchise. I'm a latchkey kid, maybe like you guys.
Mhm.
So so much of my early days of cinema were just, again, TNT, Turner, watching cable network on a Saturday and just watching this adult movie. Well, not adult movie, you know what I mean, but this
Yeah.
product films, and learning to kind of, like older narratives. And so I associate Rocky a lot, especially as a kid, as just sort of this cool, fun boxing franchise. With the first one being especially more emotional.
Mhm.
As an adult, though, I've really come to appreciate, first of all, the original Rocky very much, because I love the Creed franchise. Holy smokes, we're going to talk about these three,
Yeah.
I think three really awesome movies. I went back and watched Creed 2 this week, and I actually was not. I was surprised how much, even though it again we'll go into it, but even though it's the least craftiest of the three movies, it still packs a really good punch, and really it made me cry in ways I think it was earned to, and we'll talk about that. But I really come to appreciate the franchise again. I think in a through Creed and through having a Rocky for my generation, right? I mean, we're all kind of near Donnie's or a little younger than Donnie, but I feel like Creed's, Rocky for us. It has a sensibility, especially of like mid-millennial world and our trials and tribulations. I'm not married, but just in general, us becoming married and starting to have kids, Creed's really kind of captured that in a beautiful way. The millennial experience, actually, and I think very specifically. So, yeah, we'll talk more about it, but yeah.
Yeah. I Here's the thing. So I'm gonna let Gene go last because I'm sure he's got a great story about how he started watching this franchise. I don't really remember. I think it was like one of those things my dad was showing me, but I couldn't be sure. Like, I remember like when my dad and mom showed me like Indiana Jones and Star Wars. My dad showed me Terminator when I was a little younger than maybe I should have been when I saw it.
Yeah.
I have like specific instances where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember when I saw that. I don't remember. Rocky's one of those ones that's kind of always just been there,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't really have an angle on that, but that's just how like essential it is to like me as a person, like when I think sports movies, I think The Last Boy Scout and Rocky, I guess those are my things, but Gene, go ahead. I feel like you got more to say on that.
Yeah, no, I think specifically I was introduced to Rocky with I believe it was on AMC network. They had like rockathons. That's what they called it. So it was like such a corny marathon name.
It's perfect for that.
Love that. So yeah, like every 4th of July they would like air all the Rockies. So it'd be like Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which for a time was the end of the franchise. And yeah, I think the first one I probably saw was on cable, so it was like out of order. It was like Rocky 4. So I have a soft spot for Rocky 4 just based on that being the first one. But yeah, that's how I was introduced, and I got more into him because I think when I was a kid I was a little heavy set, so started like working out more and everything, and got into like some like fitness boxing stuff on that movie, and lost a lot of weight. So appreciate it, Rocky.
What do we think makes Rocky so special as a character? Because like he's someone everyone knows. You can do the Stallone impression, but you're really doing the Rocky impression, like it's that essential to like American culture in a way. And like, what do we think makes that so like everlasting, I guess? Because that is wild that that character is still around in the public consciousness.
Yeah.
Daniel. Well, he's ultimate American story.
Yeah.
Point blank period. I mean, he's a blue working. No matter how famous, it's funny, and Creed really showed this too. No matter how famous and rich he does get, like he became super wealthy and great at boxing. He's just owns a little restaurant and it's got like a small living space in Philly. Like I think a lot of people really dream of being able to have this kind of wealth and resources that Rocky achieves. While still being kind of grounded in their neighborhood, right? Like you kind of wish you could be the most rich guy. Excuse me. You kind of hope to be the richest, most loved person in your neighborhood, really. And I think he so embodies that through now almost 50 years of these movies.
Yeah,
like
it's crazy.
He so much embodies, I think, the dream life. I think for a lot of working class people.
Yeah. Oh, that's well said. Yeah, because I just love how like fallible the character is, like relatable, and just like you see him in the first movie, and it's like you could really relate to him because it's like he has like such a good heart, but it's like because of like his situation, like he's like he's like I guess I don't know like the right. I guess he's kind of an enforcer sort of for like one of the local like mob guys, but it's like he's a nice enforcer. Where he's like telling him, like, I don't want to break your arm. It's like, and the guy's like telling him like break his arm. And it's like he just doesn't like, even he's put in that situation, it's just not in him, like inside his heart, to like actually like hurt like some random guy over money. So it's just, such a like a lovable, like relatable like character, like Daniel was saying, just really captures like the spirit of like, I don't know, what America should be, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have thoughts regarding that, but I'll save it for Creed 3 because
Okay.
there's we'll get into it, but there's clear like influence and discussions about like class happening in Creed 3, which I
Yes.
mean, for modern like Hollywood movie making, that's like a splash of cold water to the face, because that just doesn't happen anymore. Like we avoid politics in movies now for the most part, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You go back like 15, 20 years and you're like, no, we still talked about him then. This is a recent thing. But whatever, I don't need to get all fucking I don't need to read like my manifesto or something right now. All right, let's all just mention really quick our favorite Rocky movies, as whether or not we want any more spin-offs apart from Creed, so we can just jump into Creed 3 because I'm kind of hankering here for a little bit.
Sure.
Daniel, your favorite Rocky movie?
I'm probably between Creed and Rocky. I think they're the two great they're the two great Rocky movies. I think the rest are good, or not. Like I don't think that there is another great. Those are two ideal. Mainly because Rocky itself is such a really beautiful personal film, and we'll talk about it too. There's so much not boxing in the original Rocky as compared to every other movie that comes after it. Actually, in a really interesting way. But Creed, even though again more boxing in Creed, is kind of like the Rocky 2.0 experience for a new decade. So yeah, those are my two. Those are the two central forces of the whole franchise. I think.
Yeah. Good
Yeah,
choice.
what about you, Gene?
I think like I want to say like I don't think I'll agree with you because we were talking the other day. I don't think there's a bad Rocky movie because we were talking about like Rocky 5. There's some merit to it, so it's like hard to choose. Some days, they're all my favorites, but I feel like that first Rocky's great. I think Rocky Balboa really resonates, I guess, with me. Just kind of like the acting and like if that was like the end of the character and like what it was like trying to say at the time. Yeah, I really appreciate like Rocky Balboa because it just at the time it was like a really good ending to that character. So I'll go out on a limb and say that one.
Yeah, Rocky and Creed probably are also just. I think this is not disrespecting any other sequels to both those movies, but Rocky's Rocky. Everything that comes after it is trying to live up to being worthy of the Rocky name.
Yeah.
Creed is Creed. Like these are the upper echelons of like American cinema. Like I truly believe these are two of the greatest films like of the last 50 years. Like they're fantastic movies. They give you that feeling that you cannot get outside of a movie theater, And the other ones have moments for sure, and it's not disrespecting any of them.
Yeah.
Although Rocky 4 and 5 are definitely my lower tier Rocky movies, and I think both have merits. Here's the thing: I've grown as a person. Gene knows me for so long that he remembers when I just didn't like Rocky 4 anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, this is annoying.
Yeah.
I was like frustrated.
Well, I mean, it's very 80s. Like I was just telling a friend because it's just like the robot. Just the fact like Drago has like a punch that's like 2,000 pounds, which doesn't make sense. Like that, It's of its time, but has anyone seen the director's cut of it? I was really curious.
I've heard it's a fascinating watch because the 1980s, the original version is Stallone's personality in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then the director's cut, whatever, is like Stallone of the now. So it's more somber, it's more melancholy. Like Rocky Balboa is like a very melancholy movie, and I loved it because of that. That's the one I remember watching the most on HBO back in the day.
It was on one.
Yeah, that's a great fucking movie though. I love Rocky Balboa so much.
Yeah. The director's cut.
It's the most Rocky film in a sense since Rocky, because Rocky itself, again, we're talking about it's such a personal film with a lot of it's about Philadelphia, and it's about this one guy and his day-to-day life and how that changes. And Rocky Balboa kind of takes you right back to that life after. I mean, again, we'll get into it. Like, I don't feel that strongly about the rest of the 80s franchise. It was funny. I didn't get to watch all the Rockies this week as I wanted to. Only watch the original. and maybe it was going for the best because on a poetic level, I don't really care about the sequels very much because they kind of become like, and this we'll talk about my indifference to sequels in general,
Yeah.
but the kind of Fast and Furious approach of like taking a small idea and blowing up as far as you can. You kind of test that a little bit first in Rocky, and but yeah, we'll get into it.
Okay.
No, yeah, well, we're definitely gonna go back to that because I let's just say I disagree with the certain other franchise you called out. I agree
Oh, he
with your
loves
ultimate
those. He
statement.
loves those.
Your ultimate statement, I think we're gonna
Yeah.
completely be on board with. Yeah, I guess we could just kind of jump into it, right? Is there anything else you? Oh, okay, here's something Gene had in the notes. Any more spin-offs we want, and then if you have a favorite fight from the franchise, Daniel, lead us into this. Or I guess actually, you know what? Really quick, I just not to cut you off. I just told you to talk to, but like
Yeah.
I guess you kind of answered the question too, right? Like
Yeah.
you're not a big franchise sequel guy, so I guess spin-offs aren't really your cup of tea.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was up to me, only two movies. I don't know. It's hard to say 'cause I know all the rest of the movies people really adore. It's stuff I wish I got to watch them this week too, so I could talk about them. But if I had any spin-offs, yeah, just I wouldn't recommend a spin-off per se. I hope what we're talking about. I hope if they're gonna continue this franchise, this is what I like to. I wish some movie franchise would just move into the TV sphere so that we can finally spend time with characters, right? If we're gonna have franchise spin-offs, like I'm tired of trying to get through these movies in 2 hours. I mean, we'll talk about Creed 3. Creed 3 is a little rushed, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Packed with a lot of ideas, packed with quite a few characters, and it's the more we pack movies these days, the more I'm just like, can we just make some miniseries out of these? I would totally do those. I would totally follow Jonathan Majors for a spinoff all of his own, like just his own boxing career starting from the end of Creed 3, and like he has to kind of maybe earn his way back into a starring. That'd be cool to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will say the very thing you just mentioned, like I wish it moved into TV shows. I don't know about this franchise. I've definitely had that point with other franchises, and I fucking I know I annoy Gene in our group, at least one of our group chats with this all
Oh
the
no.
time, where
Yeah.
I'm like, the Marvel stuff should be TV shows. They rush their
Yeah.
productions like TV
Yeah.
shows. They don't need to be movies. It's fine. You just make it one long TV show called The Avengers. You put everyone in it. Everyone gets like an arc or an episode to themselves. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Moving on. Gene, any
No, I
ideas
mean,
about spin-offs?
I agree with you to an extent for Marvel because it's just like, I would think I was watching like Moon Knight or something at like midnight when it was coming out. And I'm like, why am I watching this? And it's like, why is this a TV show? Why am I watching this at midnight? Like, yeah. Then especially, I already ranted on Ant-Man in a previous podcast. And
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
go check
oh,
that out, everyone.
yeah, that was fun. But yeah, I don't know for the spin-offs because it's interesting because I think the producer, I forgot his first name, like Irvin Winkler, wanted to do like a Drago spin-off of like the Dragos, and like I'm not sure if it's like a prequel or like continuing their story. And I guess spoilers, you see Victor Drago in this one, and it's like, yeah, he's good in the material, but it's like also like he is like, I don't know, like, well, he'll have to rely on like Dolph Lundgren because it's like he's not like an actor. He's just like starting, and it's like I don't know if he could like center like a whole spin-off, just on him. I don't know if he could carry it. And it's like also too, it's like I already saw the Dragos in Creed 2 and Creed 3. It's like I don't know if I need any more time with them, But I guess, yeah, if they have a story. So I guess I don't know. I can't see more spin-offs, to be honest with you. Maybe they'll do like Clubber Lang's son or something. But yeah, for my favorite fight, I think in just like the way it's like shot and just the way it actually like makes sense as a fight, I think the best fight in all of them is like Rocky 3 because there's actually Rocky uses strategy, he uses like defense, he changes up his style. Mr. T is really good in those scenes, Mr. T was I think Mr. T is like, he plays some really interesting villains back in the
I
day.
think he has incredible charisma in that movie.
Yeah, he does.
That's kind of like his peak as an actor,
Mhm.
unfortunately. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, and like Rocky 3 is like right before when I love Rocky 4, the fight, but like that's such a like comic book over the top. Like people are throwing each other in the ring. Like Rocky's like should be like dead. It gives him brain damage, or I don't know. They retconned it, but like I love that fight, but like I can't go to bat for it sometimes. But yeah, the fight between him and Clubber Lang is like really a really like fun, interesting like battle and everything. So I think I'll go with that one.
Daniel, do you have a favorite fight?
Yes, I mean, other thing about what we'll talk about today too, because I'm very pretentious. I don't like sequels and I don't like ranking.
Yeah.
So I really like to. I rather choose favorite from the original and favorite from the Creed. My favorite fight from Creed is going to be the climax fight in Creed 3 that we're going to talk about today. Actually, I've watched
Mm.
all three Creeds, and you know, it's all the talent involved. I don't want to pick apart one person, but Michael B. Jordan's direction, his ability to kind of really let Jonathan Majors take over the show in that fight, but just both of them as co-stars, direction of it, the shooting of it, the editing of it, it's really fantastic. It's really one of the great boxing scenes. The more I've thought about it throughout the week since
Yeah.
seen Creed 3. And I really appreciate a great boxing scene, trust me. And I hope to talk a little bit about Raging Bull, which is my favorite,
Mm.
which is my favorite sports movie, my favorite movie, my favorite boxing movie. I mean, it's
Yeah.
probably why I talk about sports narratives a lot is how Scorsese captures boxing and boxers and fighting and the choreography of fighting in Raging Bull and it is so powerful. And Michael B. Jordan really taps into that in this boxing scene, like in boxing in Creed 3, which is shout out to him.
Yeah.
Best Rock. I mean, I only saw Rocky this week, and it's is it the best without context? The other movies, I don't know, but God, my God, I mean, I'm chanting Adrian at the end of Rocky. It's so
Yeah.
hard, dude. Like, oh my
Such a
God, and
beautiful.
what a beautiful birth of a friendship through that fight. Like you see them
Mhm.
for the first time. This whole movie, Apollo Creed never cared about Rocky Balboa in this movie. I forgot how much they didn't really were friends. They weren't friends until that
Mhm.
fight. That fight brings them so close together. They have so much respect for each other. The release of the energy of it ending, and you feel every Adrian coming out of them because the release is so powerful. So,
Yeah.
those fights are great ones.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
such a great ending too, because it's like Rocky doesn't care. Like he doesn't care if he won. He did his job. Like he did his goal of like he went the distance, and that's all that mattered to him.
yeah. All the
You
the
know?
journalists and stuff like that, they're pressing up to him. Rocky, you made the distance for you, and the first thing he does is just start shouting Adrian. Oh my
Yeah.
God,
Tears.
tears every
Yeah.
fucking time, man. That's a fucking ending. Um, does Creed 3 make us cry? I'm not gonna say as much as Rocky because I
Mhm.
don't I think I know the answer to that one. Um, but did Creed 3 make us cry?
Um, I mean, there were some like emotional moments. Like it was like I guess like I don't know spoilers, but I think when his mother passes away, that was really sad. That was really touching. Like that it went to like those places, like and it kind of goes on the thing where I think Rocky kind of because it's been around for like so many years. Like one of the themes, it's like he keeps losing people, he keeps losing friends and stuff. So it's like it's a very like it very well like filmed like slice of life thing in that moment. So yeah, that was really emotional moment.
It did. I credit actually. So I want to talk to. We'll talk about. There's again. I've seen certain things singled out in Creed 3 as Jonathan Major's performance, Michael B. Jordan's direction, the cinematography. Um, this script is a really good script. I
Mhm.
really like the script, and mainly because again, I can say really good. It's a good movie. It's solid, very solid Hollywood movie, and we'll talk about it. But the script um, conch uses imagery and motif and just like screenwriter school to
Mhm.
really get under your skin, like just the way they play out Donnie running away from his past and how that gets personified throughout the script through Jonathan Majors, through the
Mhm.
relationship, through literally a kid running into his frame. And these things could have been really cliche, but because of the construction, I think, of this script, there's so much kind of quote unquote cliches in this movie that really pay off and become it's a good Hollywood movie. It takes what it takes all the Hollywood ingredients and cooks up a fresh batch that it's a good burger. It's a really good burger, and
really is.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this movie got to me a couple of times too. The stuff with his mom for sure, super got to me.
Yeah.
In the final fight, I didn't really expect it because the first time it didn't get me this way, but the second time, when it gets just into that full like expressionist imagery,
Oh, I love
and
that.
it's like they're fighting against the prison bars, and then they're fighting against the beat up pillow from the flashback, and I'm like, God damn, like this is tragic,
Mm-hmm.
It's like this is the only way these people felt that they could express themselves, and now it's just them two. The world is silent around them.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know it was going to get that weird with this imagery, so that made me
Yeah.
very happy because it's like you've gone back to the street level 3 times over now with
Mm-hmm.
Rocky 5, Rocky Balboa, Creed. Creed 2, you could see them trying to lean more into the stylization, like a little bit. Not
Mm-hmm.
They don't fully get there, but that's like more ground level movie too.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it has Ivan Drago in it.
They make him a character.
Yeah,
Like
and
Drago.
hey, Dolph Lundgren's fucking great.
Mm-hmm.
Dolph
He's a good
Lundgren,
actor.
the Drago stuff in that movie, I think, is killer. And then in this one, yeah, they're just pure like stylization, like pure expression as image. And yeah, I thought this movie was pretty terrific. Actually, I was really happy with it. And yeah, before we get back into what Daniel's talking about, because I do want to talk about like the more specific, like the silent bits, if you will. Like, yeah, I mean, we can all just kind of preach to the choir, like, yeah, the direction is fantastic. Michael B. Jordan's clearly too talented of a person. Someone stop him. He has it all, and people are okay with him like being anime now.
Yeah,
although
anime's great.
I don't want to bring too much attention to it, but shout out to him for not being rude, but also clearly not engaging with that one interviewer who used to bully him in high school.
Yeah, did you see that, Daniel?
I did.
Yeah. He's not even fully turning to her in the interview, and it's just like, hey man, like, what's that saying? The axe forgets, but the tree remembers.
Yeah.
If anyone's ever, I think for us, if anyone has ever lived in Los Angeles, as such a cringe moment, because you're like, oh no, you see this exact person, you see this person at the arc light run up to a celebrity and be this dumb, but you never see it on the red carpet. Like that's, I've seen that a million times. I worked at the arc light in Hollywood for 5 years, and I swear I saw that moment happen a million times. It's not in the red carpet. It's like, oh no.
Being posted on YouTube, going viral on Twitter.
It's happening.
Yeah,
I've seen it happening a lot more right now. I think. I think. Which one of you just said comfortable? I think a lot of people are getting a little too comfortable.
But yeah, the Pedro Pascal thing is like really like, I was like telling a friend like that's very uncomfortable. They're like showing him lewd tweets and stuff, and he's just like he's silent for 10 seconds and then he just walks away and like he stop.
It's like these people are trying to get like too comfortable. They're cozying up to people, like they see other like press people like interview them comfortably because they've established a rapport with these people. They can do that with certain people. They're not gonna walk up to Billy on the street and start sharing thirst tweets and stuff. Like, I don't know. It's getting bad. Everyone stay in your lane. Sharing thirst tweets is not journalism. It's very funny if you're like Ash Crossan, because that's like her shtick. She's like the one that gets away with it. You will fail if you're not her. So find another angle.
Yeah.
Moving on.
I think the point is say too that these things, like Hollywood's also got to look in the mirror. Celebrities have to look in the mirror a little bit because the way we market. I mean, the amount of like every time a movie comes out, the amount of like, I want to watch one Pedro Pascal interview about the movie or TV show. Just one. But for weeks, my YouTube's gonna be filled with, here's him on GQ, here's him on A, B, and C, D, E, F, and it's everything now. YouTube. I can't even watch interviews about movies I'm interested in because now I have to hear this person's entire life story and career played out over the course of 5 different magazines doing a profile on this person now. And like, you know what? On some level, we also have to. Where's the border? Where's commodifying human beings in that way and sending them out into the universe does make people feel a little comfortable with them in a way that they shouldn't. I think it's 2 parts to that, marketing and we also need to check ourselves. These are human beings. Don't just run up to them and talk about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. That's
Yeah.
a good point too. Where it's like, if your questions are less like insightful than questions on Hot Ones, which I do think they do a good job with the
It's a good
actual
one.
interviews. This is no disrespect
Yeah.
to Hot Ones; they're doing a good job. It's like if your questions are less insightful than theirs on a show that could easily just get by on the gimmick, like you need to just take a second, step back, reevaluate your interviewing and
Life.
journalistic integrity a little bit. No, you don't have, I'm not asking these people to go to church or
Maybe.
something. I mean,
I don't
maybe some
know.
of you motherfuckers out there, but just you're capable of better than TikTok sticks. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of people are capable of better than that. Some of you aren't, but I'm not talking to those people right now.
Yeah. PSA right now.
There you go. In the middle of Creed 3. Well, because Creed 3 is also about learning to be better.
Yeah, well, it's like I was gonna add, yeah, it's a really fascinating like look at like masculinity too, where it's like just, the way him and Dame talk to each other at the end and like, go about like their issues, like it's very like well written. And then especially like I guess like black masculinity too. Michael B. Jordan really like says like a lot of insightful things as a filmmaker too. So yeah.
Yeah, and obviously the three of us, none of us are African American. We don't have the insight into that, but I think it's we all see it. Like it's more than just like the masculine perspective. It is specifically about a community that none of us are a part of, but
Yeah.
we can hope to be better allies to. But yeah, the masculinity angle is like it hangs over the whole thing. Like his inability to express himself now that he can no longer fight, or he's chosen no longer to fight. Like it's so like sad, but like the quieter scenes, like where it's just him like hanging out at the gym with his buddies or like spending time with his family. It's like it's all so loving and like tender, and it's so
Yeah.
kind. And like, the whole movie could have just been that. Like I didn't need a conflict, like I like that stuff so much.
Good drama, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on the note of drama too, it's like, yeah, you don't always need to like be heavy hitting with it. It's like even the reveal that his adoptive mother had a stroke prior to the film's events, where it's like you don't need to milk that. You just have to present it in a situation where there it happens to be very loving, and it's like that way just kind of washes over you, and then maybe it goes to the back of your mind, or you just outright forget it. So when that comes back into the picture, it's like it's a gut punch.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is a pretty great movie, and
yeah,
I'm very happy that it is, because it is technically the 9th Rocky movie, right?
It's nine.
Yeah, if you count all of them as one series.
Because there's 6 Rockies, 3 Creeds.
Yeah, I can math sometimes. What do we feel about Sylvester Stallone not being in this movie?
I feel like he's just like, what more can he do with that character? Like he's already like had an ending in Rocky Balboa, bring him back. Creed you could say is like an ending for that character. Creed 2 is like another ending, and it's like leave it where it is. He went back to his son, he reunited with his like grandchildren, his family, and he's like, living his best life happily ever after. Like let Rocky just like, I don't know, like just be okay for right now. Don't need to see him again, that's fine.
Yeah. Daniel, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like, he's an ancestral character now. He's on, they're referring to another Ryan Coogler movie, Black Panther. He's on the plane now. He's on the spiritual plane. We have a new generation of characters. Again, I make fun of sequels. Hollywood is itself an industry of in world cinema itself is the industry of recreating, right? Of using and recycling characters over and over again. Other countries and other industries don't have the same tradition of wanting to recycle the same, characters and tropes and over and over again. Not be a tradition to their style of filmmaking, but especially Hollywood, out of all things, is about recreating. So as much as I don't like sequels, I also recognize it as being, essential to what this industry is and what it does. And we'll probably have another great Rocky movie in our lifetime, I imagine,
Yeah.
because money will make it happen.
Yeah.
These movies make lots of money. And so they'll always be back, and hopefully new artists and younger artists will be able to put their own spin on it. What's really great about Creed is that in a sense it's the same kind of, it's about a working character, kind of a character who came from nowhere and rags to riches, kind of, but what Creed does is give it a different multicultural perspective on this whole entire franchise. Now, so I love to keep seeing, maybe the Mexican American version of this world, of this Rocky world, so on and so forth. Well, it'll be cool to see Amara in 15 years get her movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, happy Rocky is over. I'm happy for him, happy for the franchise, happy for us, that we can be okay with this. And there's people out there who are really, really having a tough time with Rocky not being in this movie. I really want to go outside, touch the grass, really, go see a movie. Actually, I love going to see movies when I'm tense about nothing. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'm cool with him not being in the movie too, because this again, I like Creed 2. I probably wouldn't have gone for the Drago angle. But then I like Drago showing up in this one. I like that they're buddies now.
Yeah, they buried the hatchet. That was
yeah,
the
and then
best.
that's such a beautiful other side of how Adonis can't move on from his own past, but he's completely made peace with the surrounding elements of his life that were outside of his control. This movie's about him having to look at what he feels responsible for in his life. He's taking control of everything else. He is, well, maybe taking control is the wrong word, but he's learned to live with all of this, and he's made peace with it. And it's a lot harder for him to deal with his own shit. And I find that stuff really moving. And I don't think it would have been as interesting if Rocky was around. Where does he fit in this narrative?
Yeah.
What would he have done? I think the one moment where he maybe could have had a cameo was after the funeral, because Adonis is the dark night of the soul. He is nowhere. He is he's on the lowest possible emotional level in this movie. He gets knocked down so hard of his own accord.
Yeah.
And it's it's tough. It's actually tough to watch. And I thought if Rocky showed up at the funeral, for a quick pep talk or something like that,
Yeah.
I would have been okay with that. I didn't need it. I'm not asking for it, but that would have worked in my opinion.
Yeah.
But that's a hypothetical thing, so it's not super necessary to any of this. Yeah. What else do we think about Diamond Dame Anderson, the antagonist of the film, the brother turned enemy? Because the Rocky franchise, the Creed franchise, well, Rocky, I guess, obviously, because it's gone on longer, it's had a very wild set of antagonists. It's Apollo, the first two.
Yeah.
Clubber Lang, who's who we talked about earlier, a very fun character. Ivan Drago, who's in the first movie, he's kind of a nothing character. He's just a big hulking presence. But if you want to read into it, maybe that's the point. Maybe he's just the face of a crumbling empire.
Yeah.
And then 5 gets interesting because it goes back to the street level. I know some people didn't like that. I think that's the most interesting part of the movie. Does it work? I don't know, but it's the most interesting part. And then Rocky 6 is Rocky, learning to move on. He goes out of the ring the same way he came in. Proves that he can go the distance, but doesn't need to physically win to prove that. Creed is obviously very different set of characters. The Baby Drago stuff is really moving. The first guy, he's not a super compelling physical threat in the first film. When they're in the ring, but there's no it's not about overcoming that particular character,
Right? Yeah.
So I again, not a negative, because I worship the first Creed.
Yeah.
Here
He's cool.
Here we get just this layered character that I think is really well written. And I'm glad I watched it twice before we did this episode, because the first time I saw it, I did not think Jonathan Majors was anything exemplary in the film. I didn't think he was bad at all. I think he's like good all the way through. A very good performance. I wasn't like wowed, but then watching again the second time, like after the reveal in the midway point where like he has been angling like all these different moves around Adonis the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, well, watching the first half with that knowledge again, the performance plays so much better to me.
Yeah.
But, Daniel, what did you think about Diamond Dame Anderson and Jonathan Majors?
Man, thank goodness for Jonathan Majors and his character. The one thing that Creed was missing was a good villain in this franchise. I really don't think this franchise. I mean, the thing about Rocky is it has two classic quote unquote villains. I mean, first one Apollo, and that rivalry does stick. They're not always. They go through a lot, Rocky and Apollo. And then of course Drago being the more. I mean, Drago being a gift as a character that probably should have been where Rocky, the original franchise, loses steam. Like, come on, we're going to turn this into a Cold War narrative after the full personal, and yet they create this iconic all-time character out of this kind of silly, I think, overblown out, over Americanized, sort of international American romance narrative. For me, it's more interesting when it's a very small American narrative in the city. But you really want, and Creed did everything. Like I said, there's so much about this franchise great. I mean, the capturing the millennial experience, being a totally new cultural perspective on the same story. I mean, Michael B. Jordan performance, is a kind of romantic one, but he's such a star. He's such a honestly, such a cinematic presence. And you really, one thing they couldn't. I mean, you like the structure of how, and Creed 3 is really about correcting generational mistakes, right? The whole franchise is about correcting generational mistakes in a lot of ways. And you love that, that beginning of seeing him and Victor being friends now, because he's like good for Adonis corrects everything in an amazing way. He makes sure he doesn't become a bad father, like he makes sure he that's what this whole franchise is about. And he just like, but those Victor's just not that cinematic and not that interesting of a person. He's even watching Creed 2, he's as an idea is more interesting, as a structure, as a plot point for Donnie's story. It's powerful, but he's not as an individual really that compelling to care about or to be with. And that completely changes in Creed 3. I mean, we get the great villain. I mean, talk about someone I'm going to remember for a long time as a great sports movie villain. I mean, holy moly, they came out and he is the star. I mean, I say he's the show. He's the show of shows in this movie. We can talk about, again. We have been talking about what's good about this movie. The best thing about it is Jonathan Majors, hands down, this character, and this character. Beyond being very, very personal, interesting character who you spend a very fair amount of time with, and you really get to know and you really feel for on some level, but also are very intimidated by it because he is kind of cunning and bad.
Yeah.
What an IMAX presence! What an IMAX character, just built for a huge screen. I mean, his body, his movement, his punches, his faces, his presence. It's just such a beautiful centerpiece that on these IMAX frames. And like, oh.
Yeah, because we all saw that the IMAX screening too, and it was like I think it looked pretty like amazing, some of the sequences with those IMAX cameras, and I just love IMAX, so
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the IMAX presentation. I'm gonna let Gene go before I'm not pooping on anyone's party. Yeah, I am pro this movie. I'm pro pretty much everything about it.
All right,
I just have an IMAX take, but Gene, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say I love Dame Anderson because also too, like, he's villainous, but you feel like empathy for him, like you understand like why he's so like angry at the world and like angry at Donnie to an extent, because it's just like, he spent like 18 years of his life like in jail, incarcerated, and it's just like, and he comes out and he has like nothing, and it's just, I mean, he manipulates like his friend, but you could see you know, his perspective. You know, I think like really good villains, or at least antagonists, are ones that don't think they're the villain. Like they don't like twirl their mustache or whatever. It's like they're doing what they're doing because it's like it's still like that's their goal, you know, and it just conflicts with, you know, the person that we're centering this movie on. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I am pro mustache twirly villain, not for movies
Okay.
like this though.
Sure,
No,
sure.
like this is not
That's
the
fine.
movie with the mustache twirly villain. Yeah, like Daniel's got a
Oh,
great
Daniel,
mustache. He
he's
knows
a
what's
good
up.
mustache.
Yeah, he knows what's up. But yeah, for movies like this is where you get the introspective, like layered, like internal conflict, and like uh Wood Harris as Duke says like that great line where he's like he's angry at the world. He's trying to fight everyone.
Yeah.
Like he's constantly referencing that. And it's like, yeah, it's exactly what he's trying to do. And it's like he understands like that made Dame not the person he was. He's not that kid he was anymore. Like he can't
Hmm.
be. He was changed from that. And like I think that's what's so great about the movie, because on a very superficial level, if someone hates this movie, I don't think anyone out there does, but there probably is someone. There always is someone. But if someone hates this movie, the go-to criticism is going to be that the rich guy beat up the poor person to keep them in their place. That is not this movie.
Hmm.
I would not argue that. I do not think that's true.
Yeah.
I'm saying on a very superficial passing look of the act 1, act 2, act 3, that could be interpreted as such. Watching the movie, it is explicitly not that. It's about the lives that these two men had, the decisions they made with the choices that were presented to them, and the mistakes that fell out from that. And also the importance of like looking out for each other, and what happens when you don't. You know, Adonis has a bunch of people who look out for him, and he starts
Hmm.
pushing them away. Dame has no one to look out for him, and so he's just taking from Adonis. It's like, what other options does he have? You know, it's like, it's so sad. I'm like gonna cry talking about it. Like
Yeah.
it's what
Very
he feels he
tragic.
has to do to, like, you know, he's saying like he's out of time. He's too old. He can't go through the path that Rocky and Apollo and Adonis had anymore. Like that's gone.
Yeah.
There's no way that happens for him. He has to take now.
Hmm.
And the fact that these people feel that they had to do these things in these situations because of time, because of
Hmm.
structures outside of their control, it's like this is the ninth Rocky movie. We're talking about this shit. That's crazy, you know?
Yeah. Well, also I love that he uses like a Rocky narrative to like almost like steal, you know, to
Yeah,
like serve himself. Yeah.
yeah,
Like he
yeah.
steals like the underdog story, and it's like, well, he's, you know, like he is, but then it's like he's kind of manipulating like Donnie to like, you know, feed into that to like, okay, this is how you sell the fight. But yeah, he doesn't have like the heart of Rocky, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes if you find Easter eggs that probably weren't Easter eggs, but it just helps, it just makes the story more interesting for yourself. And one of the things is that the original, the night that the inciting incident of their lives happens, is also, it takes place the same year as Adrian's death.
Oh,
And I
Oh,
that's
kind of
right.
felt it. I don't know why I noticed that. So I think it's because I was watching the franchise out the week, and that's, years and dates and him being at her tombstone. But it means a lot to me because it's kind of like the new generation starting, right? Of like and the baton being sort of passed right there.
Hmm.
And what's Donnie now going to do with what's he now going to do with this life, and what decisions he is going to make. And yeah, and Dame is such the life, right? I mean, it's kind of, I mean, the movie is not being subtle. He Dame even says himself that, Donnie had the life that he was supposed to have. He says it as a line, and it comes right at a great time to feel that line when he says it's not a cliche, like, and it's not the script, speaking upon itself without, it's not the script being obvious, just a really well placed line when he says it. Feel it. That Donnie really did live the life that he had, and yeah, I just it's fun. So I wanted to say that after the movie and throughout the week, but I changed my mind. I thought that there wasn't enough Dane, right? I thought actually on some level there we could have. I want to spend more time with him at his house and what he was doing in between training, and what was his life like in between the scenes. And I'm thinking now that actually you're probably just one scene away from him being so tragic he couldn't be a villain.
Yeah,
Like you almost wonder if this material in this movie they had to cut out so that he didn't like love this guy and
yeah.
like and feel for him so much. And he's such a character they don't talk about too much, but he's definitely a character that's rooted in trauma in a way that's
Hmm.
very you know, being an ally for me is a lifelong journey as for all of us, but I did grow up with men like Donnie and men like Dame, and there's so much trauma and so much things that again Diego really says it, things that are out of their control.
Yeah.
Creed's kind of like that, the whole franchise, things that are out of your control, and what do you do with those? What do you do with the life that was chosen for you in a sense, and how do you make the most of it? And um this world's a really hard one to live in for a lot of people, man. And Dame really is an embodiment of how difficult it is to be in this world, and the anger the anger it can take to just survive in this world. He's angry because it's the only way he can live. It's the only outlet he has for living is to be angry, and you feel it so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, not to jump ahead, like we can keep talking about it, but like, the end of the movie is them, even though like that fight, it's the global event. Then we get that moment where it's just them two, and then we
Hmm.
get that big fucking another great line from Wood Harris's Duke, who an actor I've been a fan of because I saw him on The Wire back in the
Yeah.
day. I was watching
Yeah.
that when I was like not watching other HBO shows, and I was like, what is
Uh-huh.
this? Like back. So like, I've been a fan for a while, but he gets some great lines in this movie. He's like, leave what was and like don't worry about what is,
Hmm. Yeah.
like it's, oh my god,
Yeah.
he's fucking killing it in this,
Yeah, I love
but
how they expanded on Duke because it's like in that first movie he kind of is in it, and also too that first movie it was supposed to have like he's Duke, little Duke was supposed to have his dad Duke, but the actor was like passing away, Tony Byrne, so he's like he kind of got a role, but he's also just saying the lines of like what this other character would have had,
Mhm.
and then he gets brought in the second, and then I'm glad he's like fully like a character because like Duke is also the original Duke, he's like in all the Rocky movies, and then too,
Mhm.
like he becomes Rocky's like trainer and like mentor and like friend. He's a
Yeah.
really good character. Like people like sleep on Duke, but that's one of my favorites. And then too, like as a corner, like as his person in his corner, like in the Drago fight, he's like telling him like some really good pep talk. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those I think that's the secret sauce to the Rocky stuff. It's like the
Mm.
character stuff is so good, like even the ones that people generally don't like Rocky 5,
Hmm.
like the character scenes
Oh
are like
yeah.
fine in those
All
movies,
the yeah, all the stuff where it's like flashing back to Mickey, or I'm like, what? I'm like, what is this I'm feeling? These are like really amazing. Yeah. They
yeah.
bring back Burgess Meredith.
And I mean,
Yeah.
that's, we're talking about like franchise stuff earlier, and like I believe the Fast and Furiousification is what
Yeah.
you could refer to it as, Daniel.
Yeah.
Like, this is one of the rare franchises where like as long as like the emotions and the characters are at the forefront of it, like I'd watch another three Creed films, frankly. Now will they all do that if they continue making three more? I don't know, but like
Yeah.
it's possible,
Said he wants to do a fourth Creed, so we'll see.
We'll see. Hey, Jonathan, I mean, Michael B. Jordan has the juice,
Yeah. I want to
so
see. Yeah. No.
he could do it. Yeah, like
Hmm.
it's just I like spending time with all these people in these movies. Like
Yeah.
I don't need the fights. Now the fights are very good, um, especially in this movie, which you're just
Yeah.
like,
You need the
wow.
fights. You
Got
need
it.
the fights. That. It's a boxing movie. We got.
Yeah.
I do want to defend the fights.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah,
Okay.
no, no,
we're
yeah,
Yeah.
not. We're doing. If we want to, we can do a. We could do a. We could make plenty of narratives that are not boxing movies.
Hmm.
But I do think there's something about. Again, it's a Hollywood movie, and sports movies
Hmm.
are such a Hollywood genre. They represent America so much in
Yeah.
different ways as well. Yeah, the way they're packaged too says so much about the industry itself and how it thinks of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of your when you used to do the your blog on sports movies, you were saying like they had like a formula too, right? Like a lot of them, like baseball movies, it's
Yeah,
like they struggle, they win the pennant, never see them in the World Series. They don't show that, but yeah.
Well, no, yeah, absolutely. And well, baseball movies and boxing movies are really interesting. And I'm glad I get a chance to say this because I wanted to in some level. But the baseball movies and basketball, boxing movies are interesting because those are two biggest sports in the first half of the 20th century. Before football and basketball come along, it really is a baseball and boxing world. And the two differences that boxing, kind of like what football is now, is the more animalistic, more corrupted, more masculine, more testosterone-driven sport. And baseball is the family sport. That's we all take our kids out to the ballpark. We have a hot dog. Dad has a beer. You sit around the TV for a fair amount of hours, just enjoying your company with people around you, and that's reflected in the movies, right? Boxing movies, even going back to going all the way back, are always kind of corrupt narratives. Guys throwing, guys kind of like it's about Cary Grant's and Gary Cooper's, at the height of their cheating and scandal, and baseball movies are all about the American dream, very much, and the pride of the Yankees, and Lou Gehrig and the Sandlot, and all the
Field of Dreams.
It's all about the American dream. And it's the family. It's the family versus the adult drama narrative. And what's actually really interesting about Rocky is that it's, I guess, in some ways, the baseball movie a vacation. if we're making up words as much as I am today. Of boxing movies, it is the antidote to. I think I call it Rocky the antidote to the nature of boxing movies, which is more parasitic, right? It eats you in the inside. It's It's actually beautiful, Rocky. It deserves it's and credit to it. It's not bastardizing boxing movies. It's just, man, just uplifting the soul a little bit, giving a little brevity.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's why we love, or that's why a lot of people love sports and sports movies, right? I mean, it's like we want that thrill of like the success, and like you did it. You went the distance. You've accomplished this dream of yours, and it's like, well, that solve all the world's problems? Like, no, but like you can embrace a victory. You can cherish the moment. There's nothing wrong with like celebrating, like that you did it, you won, or like, hey, or even if you tried, even if you lose, like it's worth like celebrating, because it's just another moment in life, and it's like got to celebrate as many of them as possible. This is like the exemplary way of doing that. This is the platonic way of doing this for America. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, I think that's why something like even Ford v Ferrari was such like a hit. Like so normal good. People love that movie. Like I like that movie a lot. And every once in a while, it's a great dad movie. Yeah, every once in a while, I hear like a relative ask, like, "Have you seen that Ford Ferrari movie?" And I'm like, "Yep." And it's always they start gushing about it. Everyone loves it, and it's just like, I think it's because like a great sports movie is so rare right now.
Yeah.
And this is not this franchise's fault or problem, but it's like, we could probably do some more like
more sports movies,
quality sports movies, and also sports like, I mean, I was mentioning like and Daniel was too, like the weird corruption and institutions and structures that like funnel money and other horrible shit through all these things that permeate our lives, and it's like in these moments when it comes down to it in these sports movies, it's like the personal victories or the communal victories that these people can achieve, like, is worth celebrating in spite of all that. Which is also why I love The Last Boy Scout. So everyone should watch The Last Boy Scout.
Good one.
I'm so sorry. I wish I could.
No. It's so, you have a treat waiting for you, because you mentioned that Rocky's like the marriage of like the family and sports drama, right?
Yeah.
The Last Boy Scout is kind of like the sports drama meets Die Hard. So like, or Lethal Weapon. I guess Lethal Weapon's more accurate. Minus the pro cop stuff. There's not really pro cop stuff in Lethal Weapon. It's like they're bumbling buffoons in that, which is pretty great. But yeah, watch The Last Boy Scout. I'm gonna put that in the thumbnail. A little Last Boy Scout poster, just so people know that I haven't forgotten. All right, now I gotta be a little bit of a party pooper. Where Gene mentioned the IMAX stuff specifically after our viewing of it.
Yeah.
And the movie looks great. There's no problem with the look of the movie. No one made any mistakes or errors or anything I even disliked. Or maybe someone found an error or something. I don't care. Whatever. It all worked for me is what I'm saying. I'm just saying, let's not as someone who's like had a brief or an ongoing obsession, I'll be honest, with like collecting lenses for cameras and stuff like that and ND filters and stuff like that. It totally is about the artist, not the tools. So I just gotta say, with the hype of the IMAX cameras, sell your movie however you want. I have no ill will towards anyone hyping that up. You can do the same thing with the shutter speed on your DSLR if you got a high quality one. I'm just saying, it's not.
Yeah.
I think the real conversation is the presentation in the theaters. Because I'll be honest, my second viewing of Creed 3 last night, not as good. The quality of theaters that are not based in the heart of Los Angeles or Hollywood or Burbank are not great, and that's the real reason why people are not going to the movies that much anymore. It's because
theater
chains do not take care of their presentation formats.
Also charging extra money for seats.
Yeah, that's stupid. I saw it at the Harkins and Cerritos.
Okay.
I've been in the theater before. It used to be also better. And like it was a Saturday night, so there's gonna be like rowdy teens and stuff like that. I'm not finger wagging at the you kids these days. I'm not doing that. I'm just, it is what it is. Saturday night at the movies, I knew what I was walking into. Yeah. But like the presentation, I think did suffer from like the bulb looked a little dim. Like I was like, this looked brighter, and not just because I saw it on a bigger screen.
Yeah.
Like the movie did not look this dark last time I saw it. They did mask the screen though. For those that don't know, it's not it's so you basically can't see the black bars in the top and bottom. It's so you just see the frame that's the aspect ratio of the film.
I don't like that.
What?
Oh, I said I hate when I don't like when they do that.
You don't like when they mask the frame?
Oh, I'm sorry. Like just kind of, excuse me. Just kind of like the presentation and stuff like that. Excuse me.
Oh, okay. No. I mean, like I am pro like them like masking what's not supposed to be.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The aspect ratio. Yeah. Because sometimes you can. This was a problem at one of our local theaters, Gene, where they kind of make it either too small or
too big.
Or too big.
Yeah.
And it's like this is not like a 16:9. This is like a David Fincher movie. I think Gone Girl. I saw it a couple times in theaters there. And one of the times it was like 16:9. I'm like, this is no, that's wrong. You're missing like a quarter of the frame.
Do better, theaters. But I mean, to defend kind of the IMAX, I think it really gives the movie scope. Like when it cuts to the IMAX angle, when it's like they're fighting in Dodger Stadium, like the heart of Los Angeles. For like, was it the tagline of the fight, the Battle of Los Angeles?
Yeah, which is great. There's also a Rumble in the Jungle reference where I was like, oh, we're like going through the history about this movie becomes like the nexus point of the next generation. It's wrapping up what came before, but it's also something entirely new. It's like crazy. Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that. I also just think maybe you could do that with like an aspect ratio. I don't.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. I just
I just don't think.
Dan was.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, too, we're not getting around to the sound too. I mean, IMAX is a full experience, right? It's not just the lens; it's the total experience. Yeah, I mean, it's always ours over the total. And I went to my childhood movie theater.
Nice.
It's my first movie back at my old movie theater. And they now have IMAX there, which is hilarious because like any movie theater that comes an IMAX movie theater is never really an IMAX movie theater. Like it has to be really the most purest IMAX has to be from the conception of the architecture of the vertical. I've seen an IMAX movie at the Air and Space Museum in Washington D.C. I saw Arrival at the Air and Space Museum in Washington D.C. And I've never had. I don't even love Arrival that much. To be honest with you, I can't find it boring. I'm sorry, but the experience watching IMAX. I've been to that magical wonderland of IMAX before. I know that place exists. And no, there's like maybe, I can't imagine more than 5 theaters in this entire country. More, not theaters, screens, individual rooms in this entire country that can capture how I saw Arrival at Air and Space Museum. So any IMAX experience is ridiculous because you're not really IMAX. You're like, I don't know what's happening. You'd be like D max. You know, you're kind of halfway there. But I will say. And then maybe the presentation, we saw the IMAX premiere event. So I'm wondering if like when the presentation I saw was just curated a little bit better, you know, that might have been like supervisors there making sure that we're getting
Yeah.
the highest quality experience.
Mhm.
I'm working on events at when I did ArcLight work the event. We did a better presentation when the person's rep was there with the projectionist. Like, you know, the movies looked better when
Yeah.
versus when we would show those movies a week later just in regular public presentation. So there is something about someone being there.
Yeah. Because at ArcLight, you
Yeah.
worked as a projectionist, right?
Huh? Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, but the sound in this movie is really powerful. I really love it. I'm trying not to break down visual stuff too much because it's, but I really think like you hear so much in this film, and it's really important for a sports movie. Sports movie, so much sound needs to be into. You really want to hear the clink, the crack of the bat. You really want to hear the gloves being tied on, and you want to like almost feel like when he goes into the thing with about the sound in my screen is when he's getting pushed into the ropes, right? Just the vibration, you can feel him on the ropes. Like it's not a camera showing a guy pushing a guy onto the ropes. You're like I really felt like I was there, and so much of the sound and the vibration, the sound, and again, like I'm gonna look forward to seeing Creepy again in the theater just to kind of like sit back and see like what's everything happening that's not visual, like what's everything happening queued up by sound. And I'm curious to see how much detail there is in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
No, that's well
that
said.
I will completely agree that the IMAX sound was incredible.
Yeah.
Again, not to diss Harkins theaters, but like, you know, do better.
Yeah.
The
For
sound
sure.
quality is just not comparable. I was like, it was all front loaded and shit. You know, it was one of those.
Mhm.
And
Like,
after
yeah.
that IMAX after any IMAX or Dolby Dolby's a great way to watch a movie too. I got to shout out Dolby. I love Dolby
Yeah.
Vision. Um,
Atmos.
yeah. Oh my God, it's the best. Um, yeah, the booms and the punches and yeah,
Hmm.
the ropes that and stuff like that. It's the best. So that was you know, I had a great time watching it again. Like I said, there's stuff I appreciated even more the second time. I even liked it better the second time, and the presentation didn't bother. That's how good this movie is to me, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like again, like that stuff I mentioned, like it's not even nitpicks. It's just like let's keep the focus on like not let's not. I guess I'm worried about gatekeeping a little bit about
Sure.
tools. Maybe this is a
Yeah.
personal thing. That's all.
Yeah.
So
I think it's important. I think it's definitely important. Now I'm with you, Diego. It's really important just to always remind all film fans, like it's the artist first, guys. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, Tangerine. This is
Uh,
iPhone. Like Tangerine's more powerful. I think Tangerine's a masterpiece. And it's one, and
Mhm.
it's better than like 95% of blockbuster movies. So like you could make it on any. You can make a great movie anyway. I mean, they're bringing back Pie for Pie Day. I hear.
oh yeah, I saw.
And that is the most janky. You've ever seen Pie? That's the
I've
most
seen it.
janky looking
Yeah.
movie ever, and it is pretty. It's creepy and it's like unnerving, and it's a really interesting cinematic experience. But it's like you can barely see the people in the movie. So yeah, it's always about the artist for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fuck it, Gene. Let's make something on our iPhone. Let's
Yeah.
do that short I was telling you about on my iPhone.
Yeah.
All right.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I'll have to.
We do a whole movie now out of Zoom
Zoom.
conversations.
Yeah. There's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
several. There's been several.
What's it though? I forgot the name of these movies already, but the missing cinematic experience, missing cinematic universe that we have now.
Yeah.
I mean, Gene and I talked about it a while back, but like, you know, Skinamarink is not
Oh, so
filmed on a
good.
laptop.
Yeah,
I
Daniel, you need to see that.
I cannot wait to watch it on a laptop. I'm
Yeah.
so happy that was in theaters and was a hit somehow. I'm not upset at all about that. I was just like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
But like that's a movie you watch like at 1 a.m. on your laptop. Like I think that's like the vibe of that movie. So I can't wait to rewatch that. You know, yeah, different methods, different tools, different experiences. Like there's no right or wrong way. Actually, you know what? There's probably wrong ways, but there's no right way, which is probably the most like frustrating thing to
Yeah.
hear when you're trying to make something. Like no one's gonna give you the perfect formula to make something.
Well, the wrong way is making crap and you're not realizing it. That's always the wrong way. If you,
Yeah.
like the wrong way is like if you're like on a lot of I've seen a lot of bad short films in my life because as being all of us being aspiring filmmakers, we've seen a lot of our friends is not great movies and web series, and it's wrong. It's wrong when like the person thinks they're making something technically sound and that doesn't sound well and doesn't look well, and it's like, well, it doesn't have to sound well and look well, but if you're not keyed into your own limitations, I think that's when you're not doing well as an artist. You got to key into what your limitations are a little bit.
Yeah.
If your short film opens up with someone waking up and setting off an alarm clock, just cut that part out. It's
Oh my God, Dan.
Everyone thinks it's a great idea when they
Yeah.
first start doing it. I promise, it's not you. It's fine. Everyone goes through it. Just take it out. It's not important.
First of all, a much more real way of waking up is like slowly too. I don't know why no one ever think like you could make something intimate out of a slow waking up. Like,
Yeah, see,
Like,
he's cracking up because he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Just like get out of bed and then you like go to the bathroom, go back to sleep. It's like alarm clock, phone goes off, you get a text, you don't respond to it coherently, and then you wake up and then you realize you like text your friend like a misspelling of like a word or something. That's a realistic thing.
Yeah.
I don't know who wants to see that, but yeah.
No, fuck it. Someone should make that short film.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
commend them for that version of that idea.
How to film a person waking up like a normal human being.
It's 30 minutes of the person like trying to get up and like not like barely opening their eyes.
Yeah.
And then like
Yeah.
I would be down for a parody short that just contains all the bad student film parodies in one. So like the guy wakes up straight from alarm clock, and then the next scene is him in the bathroom like washing his face, and he looks really deeply concerted and can't stop looking as a flashback goes back to his childhood and a dream. I just want all of that, but played seriously though, because if you play it seriously, film fans would get it, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, like we're having fun, but it's like, why do you think John Wick actually opens with the end of the movie? It's because otherwise the first scene is him waking up in bed. It's the most boring thing ever.
Yeah.
John Wick is awesome, but like, it's like that's probably why they did that. They're like, we can't fucking do this.
Yeah, exactly.
But okay, we're so far off from Creed 3. Is there anything else we want to mention before we wrap up? Which does not begin with someone. No, it does begin with someone waking up.
Oh God.
Oh my God. But okay, he's faking it. He's not really waking up. So
yeah,
it's an inversion of the trope. I don't know.
Yeah, I would.
It begins on him fighting, right?
Oh wait, no.
It's the middle of a fight.
He's in South Africa doing
No. It begins with him
as a kid.
As a kid, yeah, and it actually starts off with Damien, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretending to sleep. Yeah. I was just gonna say, just kind of my last thoughts on the movie, because I loved it. I would like to, because it's like touched on a little bit. And I was telling you this when he was saying that Dame was more of a family than like his actual siblings. Like, I really want to see like if they could go into, I don't know if it's past, but like explore like Apollo's other kids, like what happened to them, because it's like they were at the funeral, because it's like it seemed like they gave him a hard time, or they weren't like accepting of him, because it's like, yeah, they're like half brothers, like, and then to kind of the circumstances of like, Apollo like cheating on his wife and everything. I think that would be really interesting to explore, just kind of
completely agree.
Pitching
Daniel,
to Michael Jordan right now.
Yeah, just like a look into the extended family there, and maybe him reconnecting, and yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, maybe one of them's sick and he has to put up a bunch of money to take care of him, and then he's raising money. I'm trying to think of like what the next fight would be. Just like I trust him as a director, and I think these are the same writers as the last two, right?
I'd have to look. I know.
Let me check real quick. I was looking at that, but I trust him as a director now. Okay, Keenan and Ryan Coogler co-wrote it with Zach Balin. Zach Balin is he's written the Gran Turismo movie that's coming out, and King Richard, the movie that Will Smith won his Oscar for.
Yeah.
Ryan and Keenan Coogler, or I guess Ryan, if he writes another treatment or something like that for the next one, I'll be excited.
Yeah.
I also just miss like Ryan Coogler getting to make other stuff.
Oh yeah,
it's no hate to the Black Panther franchise. It's just like he's making one type of movie right now, and
he's more interesting than that.
Yeah, he could do a lot more.
Sure.
I didn't even hate Black Panther 2. I was so surprised at how much I liked it. But
I would of course like though. I don't want any spin-off of Creed ultimately. What I want is the Ryan Coogler approach to all franchise movies, which is like make 3, trash it, new generation, new characters. Like take if that's I'm fine with the thing about the MCU is just that it's finally hard to be honest with itself that it wants to make the most out of every IP that it wants, and you're gonna do so, sure. But one thing that Marvel gets to do is with this one central world with all these different characters and is like you get to see all these different ways. You get to see the Marvel experience through all these different perspectives all the time, which is the magic, I think, of the MCU and what it tries to be, right? It's just to see this entire huge world from all these different perspectives. So just keep expanding the world, keep expanding. I just want to see this world from as many different perspectives as possible. And again, it's important to note that like Ryan Coogler just honestly, I mean, when he honestly wrote Creed because he just wanted to make a Rocky movie for Black audiences. He just and trust now Hollywood's in a place where we can make movies for audiences that aren't white, and white audiences will still come out and pay money to see them. You don't have to. You're not losing money just because you're focusing on one specific audience as your primary target. But that's what's the beauty of Creed itself, is that it's a Rocky movie for another audience. So let's keep making these movies for more and more audiences. And that's the way I think is the secret to making all these franchises last forever without ever dying off too much. Is like keep making, I got another example of these Marvel TV shows were really getting tiring and boring.
Yeah.
Until recently, bless Miss Marvel for giving me a new perspective in this whole. I really like Miss Marvel as first. I really like Captain Marvel too. I'm a low key big fan of Captain Marvel.
You're in the right place. People hate on that movie. That's one of the better ones, hands down.
I think I love just like. I love the alien experience of this woman coming out of nowhere and just being like, "You are all fucking stupid," and it's first of all, it's a movie that clowns on human beings and our existence in a way that I love. It's very, very cute and I think it's also very self-aware of itself. People think it's not self-aware. I think it's very self-aware. I think it's very much knows what it's doing. It's very cute, and I really love that now you have this very bright human Marvel girl is gonna link up with this sort of alien, presence in Brie Larson. I'm really looking forward to that partnership between both generations of Captain Marvel. So again, just keep expanding, man. You'll find gems like I said, you'll find gems like Miss Marvel. You'll find gems like Creed. But I think I hope we can learn someday that to stop with. You gotta kill off Captain America at some point, man. Like we can't just keep, you know what I mean? Like if we want to keep going.
Yeah.
No. But all right, I guess we could wrap up then. Creed 3. I think thumbs up across the board, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job, everyone. Someone do something about Michael B. Jordan. You cannot be that good looking and that talented. That's just...
a man that puts a Dragon Ball Z reference in a boxing movie, amazing.
Hey, if he doesn't do Creed 4 right away or doesn't do it at all, like I'm there for whatever else he wants to direct. Frankly, like that dude.
I'm really happy he directed well this one because, I felt like as much as you can feel bad for someone who's as successful as him, I did feel a little bit like that I think that interview you had was such a culmination of like people were kind of picking on him a little hard over the years. And so I'm just really happy he can direct because it's also like you can't say anything to this guy now.
Yeah,
come on, he's also a great artist. Like no, get out of here.
Yeah. We stand.
Also, just for reference for everyone too, when he was getting picked on in high school for liking anime and probably doing the anime run or whatever, no, like whatever, like you're fucking kids, like do whatever. You're gonna be embarrassing as a kid, whatever. You don't think that lady interviewing him wasn't embarrassing in high school either?
Yeah.
like the fact that, like, timeline wise, I think he was in the fucking Wire when he was being made fun of. One of the greatest shows in the history of television.
Yeah.
You like,
And he was like the
what?
most memorable kid. He's the most memorable kid on that. Like I think in all 5 of those. Like, what kids do you remember better? I mean,
Well, there's that one season that's about the education system,
Yeah,
but like he's definitely no.
I
Like
bet.
I agree with you. Like he is. I think he's the standout. You know, I mean, his character reverberates into further seasons too. You know.
Yeah.
Um,
a good way to put it.
yeah, I mean, everyone who's seen that show remembers "Where's the Boy" string. You know,
Yeah.
like, great actor, great talent, great job, great movie. Daniel, thanks so much for joining us. Where can
Yeah.
people find you online?
Yeah. I only got Insta myself, but you should follow me on my letterbox now. I just started it. It's only for sports movies. It's my sports movies letterbox, and it's just you can find it under DRSM, Daniel Wright Sports Movies, essentially.
Nice.
All right, great. Yeah, links down below. Gene, where can the people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, G9892.
All right, and you can follow me at the Diego Crespo on Twitter. Check out the Waffle Press on Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Instagram, Spotify, Patreon. I did that in weird order today. I don't know why. The word soup, the brain juices are not melding. I have no idea why. I'm in a great mood. I don't know what the fuck. But thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. If you didn't like this, like and subscribe anyways, because you might find something you do like. All right, so take care. Go watch Creed 3. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We have been professionally unprofessional.